Coach Butler, and we'll just go ahead and go through the questions.
Okay.
Coach, how quick has this all come for you, just sitting at a beach house in New Jersey to a month later here in Lincoln, Nebraska?
As quick, it's life changes quickly. It's the truth. And you can do one of two things. You can say yes or you can say no. You can choose to go with the opportunity that you have, or you can choose to stick with what you're doing. And to say that this was out of the blue would be probably an understatement from a standpoint of the timing, where my mindset was. But when the opportunity came, and it came quick, I've had relationships with some people in this building, and obviously was very impressed with the programs that Matt has built through the years. I was just speaking with the radio reporter, and I had a relationship with two of his better players when I was with the Bills, Tyler Matakevich and Deion Dawkins, and honestly, a lot of our conversations when we were there was the success they had, at Temple, and then Terrell Bernard played for Matt at Baylor. Like, I was always curious about how he ran that program, and everything that came from those guys was positive, and culture building and toughness and team and all the things that I believe in. So I think that was kind of maybe a little bit of a foundation of knowledge that I had going in. But when it happened, it really just came down to I had been kind of investigating the landscape for 5 months, and have had a lot of time to decompress and kind of think about where I was, and it was really kind of came down to the perfect timing and the perfect place. Timing was right, an opportunity to come coach at Nebraska at a storied program with great players and great coaches and great fans. It just ended up being right, and sometimes things are too good to be true.
You come aboard July 6th. What's been the biggest challenges for you in this less than a month?
I don't know if there's been challenges as much as it's like I just said to myself when I got here, it was like, don't worry about like when I got here on the 7th, don't worry about training camp. Like, let's just spend as much of the time today learning Tony's defense, then learning these players, and then, figuring out this program and how, like the ins and outs of it. And each day, obviously, that you do something, and when you work as hard as we do, and if you're smart enough to handle change and be able to process things, each day gets better. So, if I sat around all day long, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? All I do is focus on the work, focus on the people, and focus on my experience. Thankfully, I'm, 30 years of doing this. This isn't my first rodeo. So, really just focusing and taking that day-to-day approach, and relying on my experience, and then relying on the staff and the people that are here to kind of give me a guide, and then me getting to work and doing what I do best.
What were your early impressions of what you were walking into?
Well, the early and initial impressions were, wow. You walk in I had been here a couple times as an assistant coach years back at the University of Texas back, I think, in like 97, and then at Penn State, I want to say in 2012. I might be off a year, but so I've been here before, and obviously I know about Nebraska, but I've never actually been here for more than an in and out. So you come in here, you see the brand new facility, you see the stadium. I was staying at the Embassy Suites, so like I was walking through campus every day. I still don't have a car. I've been here a month. I do not have a car. And I'm like to myself, I don't even know if I'll need one. I'm going to need one to recruit, but like just focusing on like, I'm not worried about the car. I'm not worried about where I'm going to live. I'm not worried about, all that stuff. So it's like those are initial impressions. And then really it's not about the buildings and the history. It's about the people that are here mostly. So you get around the coaches, the defensive staff, mainly for me, the support staff that's been very helpful. And then I was kind of picking and choosing with the players because I really wanted to make my impression of the players and what I thought about them as players and people based on what I see out there on the field. So I'd watch them, I'd interact with them a little bit, but my relationship with them is now the biggest thing from training camp is now I'm with them day to day and seeing how they work and seeing how they invest, seeing how they get better, see how they interact with their teammates and their coaches. So that's really just the focus, what that's been.
What have your impressions been then of the 3-3-5 defense that Coach White has implemented so far? What do you like about that?
Yeah, so in the 30 years that I've coached in like a traditional 4-3. I've coached in a 3-4, in Houston and like basically the Patriots style defense. And then for the last 6 years, I coached in really a nickel 4-2-5. That's they're the three main ones, and then you get this one that's so unique. The thing that I love about it is just the versatility and the flexibility that that it provides you as a defensive coach to come up with solutions and answers. And then obviously as a DB coach, you got 5 DBs out there. So selfishly, you're developing, almost half of the defense is in your room, And obviously the more DBs you play, the more flexibility there is with coverage principles and, things you can do that way. So it's been great. I think one of the key things in life, especially as an older guy, I used to be one of the young coaches, now I'm one of the older ones, is like something new is something that inspires you, something that motivates you a little bit to learn and to really develop. And so when I came here, it was all about just, I'm going to learn this defense and keep my mouth shut and really try to figure out what's going on, how the pieces of the puzzle work. And then when time comes, based on things I've done in the past, I can interject with Tony in our conversations about how maybe I can help it. But right now, it's really about me learning it, teaching it, refining it, and that's really it.
What stood out to you about some of those veterans you have in the room, Gifford, Buford, some of those
Yeah,
guys?
they remind me of coaching, pros from a mindset and a mentality approach. Everybody, a lot of the questions that I've gotten from recruits and obviously the players is like, hey, what is this player like, or what is it like coaching an NFL player? And everybody just thinks, well, I coached Tre'Davious or I coached Jonathan Joseph in Houston or whoever, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Taron Johnson, you name the names, but like it's not only their football ability, it's their football character and their personal character. And like playing football for a living is a hard job. It's rewarding financially, but it's hard. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of physical and mental toughness. And those guys, that's what I'm trying to interject with these guys is like, that's the approach you have to take. Like you can't be thinking about the game coming in 25 days. All these guys need to think about is like having a really good practice this morning and then getting recovered. And then when we have meetings, like it's not about what happened at the practice. It's about coaching in the meetings and getting better. And that's what a lot of those guys did, the best ones. They were pros from the head down. And I truly believe that as you develop players, they have to have that football character that they're willing to work, they're willing to sacrifice, they're willing to do the things that other players aren't, and then you add that with their talent, and that's when you get a legitimate pro football player that has the potential to be a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, or play in the playoffs like I was fortunate, or my guys were fortunate enough to do for 7 to 10 years.
So to be clear, were you surprised when you heard from Coach Rule?
I don't even know is there a word bigger than surprised? Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't even on the if you guys know enough about the hiring cycle, like it's not. It's January and February usually, March comes, maybe there's something here or there, April, May, June. I mean, you're coaching and doing your job, or I was just a regular dude. So when that call came, it was almost like, and I needed to take some time to think about it before I could even really speak on it, But like I said, you got to act quickly, or a place like Nebraska and an experienced elite level coach like Matt, he has other people he could go to. So I guess I'm sharp enough to say that the opportunity was sitting right in front of my face. Don't let it pass me by.
What went into your professional decision to move on from Buffalo, and how do you envision this as part of that path?
I'd rather not, talk about the Buffalo thing. That's kind of in my past, and I've moved on. I mean, I love, and still talk to those players, but that's in the past. The decision really that's important is my decision to come here and my decision to come here and be a part of this thing, not be a placeholder for another opportunity. That's just not my DNA. That's not how I work. So I'm really, really, really happy to be here. The people, my friends that are close with, they're like, how's it going? I'm like, dude, I'm having a blast running around out there, coaching these guys. I mean, half of these guys, the younger guys probably think I'm crazy, man, but I love football. I love competing. I love making players better. So whether I'm doing that in Nebraska or I'm doing that for the Buffalo Bills or the Houston Texans or wherever else it's been, I invest as much as I can into those players and those people while I'm there. And then when the next thing comes, you do the same thing. So
Do you feel like you're walking in at a time when the college coaching structure looks more like the NFL coaching structure than it ever has? I mean, you have assistant DBs, coaches,
Yeah.
which I'm sure when the last time you were in college at Penn State, that was not a reality.
Yeah, so it was 10 years ago. I coached in the NFL for 10 years, and then it's a drastic difference as far as support staff. And obviously at a very unique place like Nebraska, like not everybody has the benefit of truly having a 120-man roster. You know, when I coached at Minnesota, I think we were at 100. Maybe, you know, Penn State, you're probably close to that. So the volume, you need those assistants. But obviously what you got to get good at is you got to get good at, you know, organizing your staff, so to speak. You know, you almost have your own staff, and you making sure that they're supporting the message of Tony and supporting the message of the head coach, and obviously coaching it the way we want it coached. But that just allows you to have, you know, 3 other quality coaches, whether it's Adam, Rashawn, or Tariq. They're all working with these guys, and I mean they're invested in them too. So we're helping those guys, you know, develop as coaches. But while they're doing that, they're helping. A lot of them are really focused on the younger players, so it becomes like your development staff.
Close to just sitting out a year? Were you
I wasn't
prepared?
close. That's what I was doing.
How'd you feel? How did you feel about
Felt
it?
great. Almost sometimes too good. You know what I mean? I've done it for 29 years in a row. When you're a coach, man, you work long hours and long days, and you're away from your family, and you miss a lot of stuff. It's the sacrifices you choose to make for the job you do. But I was at a point where I was like, all right, this is like, what's it going to look like in the fall? I knew that was going to be probably my last hurdle to overcome, like not being a part of a training camp potentially, or not coaching in games. But like my mindset was that's where it was, you know, and I was not regretful. I was not felt like I was missing out on anything. It just, you live your day, and living at the beach in Seattle City is not a bad thing. But this is better. I'm now that I'm back in it, much happier,
Coach, what are the characteristics of a team that's a good, a ball hawking team that gets a lot of turnovers?
Yeah. First of all, you got to create a mindset. Like when you're a coach, you're teaching about their stance and their alignment, their keys, their responsibilities. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, but you also try to pare it down. Like you believe in playing hard, playing tough, and attacking the football. And so you're constantly reemphasizing that in everything that you do, so that it just becomes a habit and it becomes something that's second nature for the players. And it never ends. It's a constant, like, hey, you're watching a film of a guy and you're like, hey, your technique there could get better, but look at your finish. Did you punch at the ball? Did you scoop at the ball? Did you get your eyes to the football? So, the objective of defensive football is to either score on defense yourself or get the ball back to the offense as quickly as you possibly can. Well, how do you do that? You take the ball away. So it's just to us, it's a mindset, it's a mentality, it's recruiting players that have done that before. So, and it's something I believe that you could be a middle of the pack defense, and if you attack the football and you take it away, you can put yourself in position to win a lot of games.
John, do you have any initial reactions to Tommy Hill? I think he was asked about you earlier, and apparently from Tommy, he said you commented on his size. He had recently put on some weight.
As a player and as a person, he seems to be very similar to the ones that I've coached before. Not really to get into comparisons, but as a DB coach, you want guys with long arms and can run fast and can defend the passing game. Tackling and playing the ball is a big part of it too. But like when I looked at him and evaluated him, and as I have evaluated him on the field, I think he's got a bright future, but he still has to, invest and put time in and keep working and understand that just because he's a older player at Nebraska, there's still a huge growth opportunity there for him. And the minute he gets complacent, the minute he thinks like, well, I'm one of the better players at Nebraska, I got a draft stock or whatever, like his focus has got to be on his development and his opportunities to make Nebraska's defense better. And then every other opportunity will come his way down the line.
Can you speak also to if you've gotten to know him well yet, to Isaac Gifford, and he's a kid from Lincoln who had a brother play at this program, and have you seen from him on the field, off the field, how motivated he is this year?
Yeah, I mean, when you look from afar at a program like Nebraska and the DNA that this place and their players have had, you walk in the door and GIF is basically fits that mold. That's the expectation when you're walking in the door, and then you get it, and you're like, yeah, this dude's a Cornhusker. And his commitment not only to himself and his process, but how he's very vocal. He's a great leader. He's great at not only holding himself accountable, but not afraid to hold some of the younger guys accountable. So I think it's a good thing to have when you walk into the room and you know right away who the leaders are, who you can push to make himself better, but then grab them to the side and go, hey, you can help develop some of these other guys, and not only just show them leaders by example are good, but leaders that can have the DNA inside of them to really truly bring people with them. That's when you get to where you get to, and I think Giff fits that mold.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you.